Welcome everyone to the third Thursday call for Thursday, April 19th. And we have a wonderful program, or what do we call it, a co-creation tonight with Darlis Mays, hosted by both longtime CCC members. She'll be hosted by Kathy Mason tonight. My name is Noelle Marshall, and I'm here with my beloved Bob Warner.
Hi, everybody.
And together we call ourselves Light Partners. And right now I'm going to turn the gold encrusted emerald talking stick over to Bob, and he's going to tell our newcomers a little bit about CCC, the Co-Creators Convergence.
We are delighted that everyone is here this evening. You know, a number of you are joining us for the first time on this call, and those that will be watching with the replay to spend a very special evening with Kathy and Darlis. And we want to tell you that the Co-Creators Convergence is a heart resonance community of uniquely gifted souls dedicated to embodying and amplifying our collective consciousness, thereby co-creating a world that works for everyone. We do this with great love, with great compassion, and with great joy, honoring all realms of creation to accelerate the awakening of humanity. And there are 4 ways for you to be a part of this community. And to stay connected with this community. We have a very active Facebook page. You're all very welcome to be a part of that. Secondly, we have a website, co-creatorsconvergence.com. And on that site, there's information about our annual event, and there also is archives of all of our third Thursday calls all the way back to the beginning of 2014, back when we were just using the telephone. Amazing people have spent time with this circle of beloved over the last 3 years and 3.5 years, and so we welcome you to take a look at that. We also have these third Thursday calls as another way of us connecting, and so we invite you to be someone who will step forward, share your gift with this circle, or invite others that you know might be interested in being a part of this circle and sharing about what their gift is in the world, because this community is about us sharing and about us supporting one another as we uplift humanity and are a part of that ascension of humanity. And the 4th way of being a part of this community is to join us at our annual live event. So this year, May 30th through June 3rd, we will be back at Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado, and for the 6th time, and we welcome you all. There's still seats available in the circle. We would love to have you join us. Information about that's on the website as well as on the Facebook page, as well as with a number of people that are on this call that you can talk to as well. So thank you again. Thank you, Shanti Hart. Thank you all for being here and being a part of this special evening. It is you that's making this so. Thank you.
So no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Mason. And Kathy, as I said, I consider her to be a foundational member of the Co-Creators Convergence, and she and Ted were planners for the last 2 years, and now they're coming, but they're going to be able to participate this year because they're not going to have to go around and babysit all of everything. So we're looking forward to that. So Kathy Mason, Mason Works Marketing is her website. Did I get that right, Kathy?
Uh-huh.
She works with beings like ourselves who want to get our spiritual message out to the world. So that's presentations, seminars, books, whatever it takes to get the audience, get you connected with your audience. So Kathy, I'm going to turn it over to you now to do the introductions and lead us tonight. So thank you both, Darlis.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Real quick, with a show of hands, how many of you have been to CCC before? If you could just put your hands up. Okay, so you can see Nina, we can't see you. Barb, we can't see you. Nicole, we can't see you. Robin Lynn, we can't see. Okay, here we go. Okay, so every one of you, even some that you can't see, have experienced the beautiful blessings that Darlis Mays brings to all of us. So hopefully, thank you, Barb. I know you didn't feel good. Thank you. So it's my divine pleasure and feel it's a huge gift that I get to introduce Darlis's work on this call to you. I have to say the way I met Darlis was at CCC. It was the first year, and I still worked my first year. We were paired off together, and we just took one look at each other and we started crying. There was such a recognition and a knowing of our sisterhood, of our just communion, almost finding each other again. And so I think that's what you're going to find when you meet Darlis, is that her light just ignites something in your heart and brings something, the best parts of you, out to you. So with that, I'd love to have Darlis open Akashic Records meditation for all of us right now, and we can bathe in that energy. And then when she's done, then we'll go to an interview style. And then at the very end, we'll have question and answers. Mm-hmm. So with that, Darlis, please, thank you so much for agreeing to do this for us today.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for that introduction. And so what I want to do first is really, before we even get into the records, I want to just do a centering, and I want to bring all this beautiful energy, this co-creation that's formulated right here before us on the screen. I just wanted to bring us all together. And so I'm going to do a quick meditation. And what I'm going to invite you to do is put your hand, your right hand, on your heart and your left hand on top of that. I'm going to invite you to sit back, really relax, feet on the floor if you can. Close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath together. Come into this circle. Everyone in our human race is pure love, light, and energy. And that love and light and energy starts in the heart. So I invite you to really feel into your heart. Feel it beat. Feel that the blood is really coursing through each one of those heart chambers. Bring your full attention to your heart. When that heart beats and pumps that pure, beautiful, fresh blood, it oxygenates our whole system. It also connects us to one another. So I invite you right now to really feel that it's cleaning the whole system. It's cleaning out the day. It's cleaning out all the cobwebs. It's really bringing us to the present moment. It's bringing us into this circle together. And now we're going to take that energy that we feel in our whole system and take it up and out through our higher chakras, up through the crown chakra, and it's going to connect to the divine source. It's going to connect into the Akashic realm. It's going to connect into the whole universe. When we gather like this, we're making the connection on a high, high level to the whole universe. So breathe that in for a second. Just take a moment and just really breathe that in, that we are each all connected to the whole universe, both individually and collectively. So as much love as we can release out into the universe receives that love and shoots it right back to us energetically. So now take a moment and fill your whole being with all that wonderful love. Now we're going to break free of that a little bit. We're going to thank the universe for that exchange. We're going to bring our energy more back into our focus, into our being, back down through the crown chakra, back down to the heart. And then we're going to do the same thing with Gaia, with the beautiful mother that loves us so much. We're going to take that energy back down to Gaia, down to the center of the earth. And the exact same thing as we wrap our roots around that beautiful quartz crystal at the center of the earth. We're sending down all of our love, all of our energy. She's so grateful for us. She's so grateful for this energy, for this love. So now take a moment and breathe in. She is now going to send back all the love that she has for us, which is quite a lot of love. Fill that with your being. Fill that back up into your roots, back up into your chakras, your lower chakras, and back into your heart, and bathe in that love for a moment. And when you're complete, you can open your eyes, come back into the room, release your hands. Ooh, thank you for your beautiful energy. Ooh, the power of us individually really is so enhanced when we're in group like this. It is 100-fold what it would be individually. And so I'm just going to take a moment with everyone's permission. I would like to open the records for everyone. Is that okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, we're in. So I just want to give you a little bit of history of the prayer to start out with, and then Kathy, I'll go back to you, and we can direct this however you think best. This, first of all, I'd like to say this CCC family is so important, and it's been part of my life's journey for the last 6 years. And so much has changed in that short amount of time. It's unbelievable. So I've traveled with many of you, some close, some in the United States, some international travel, and it's just been an amazing journey. I don't consider myself a great writer. I really more am an orator. I love to talk, as some of you know. And I kept getting nudges to rewrite the Akashic Record prayer. And I just, oh, masters and teachers, come on, you know I'm not a writer. Oh, it's okay. We'll just keep using the prayer we have. Well, the prayer that I was taught with and had been using was from the 1970s. And they kept saying, Darlis, the energy has really changed and shifted so much. It really needs to be rewritten. It needs a lot of more juice, a lot more power behind it, much more intention behind it. And so let's see. Oh, there's a lot of us on this call. So Bob and Noel, championed by Nina and Joseph, and Talia, I think that's all of us right now on this call, all went to England. In fact, earlier, Noelle had her Glastonbury shirt on. And when you and I are in the Chicago O'Hare Airport, she's getting a message on the computer, an email from Catherine Parker, who says, you guys need to meet this woman that's coming to Glastonbury on the same day that you are arriving. She's coming from Bali. You all are coming from the US. And so, and especially Darlis needs to meet this woman. And I just, wow, okay, great. So we ended up getting her email address. We emailed her, tell her that we're staying at St. Michael's Retreat. And she comes there and meets us all. And some of you know her, Unity. At that time, what was her name? Lynn, I forgot. Lynn McGallop. And now she goes by Unity. And so she's this beautiful 6'2", tall blonde, and she walks right in the living room and puts her hand out to me and says, hi, my name's Lynn, and I'm the Akash scribe. And wow, okay. So Lynn, several months later, immediately I said, oh, good. You know, the universe is sending you because I'm supposed to rewrite this prayer. So we'll do it together. So it took us several months of working on it, but that's the prayer that I use to this day. And so that was a wonderful meeting. So anyhow, just a little history. There's a lot of people on this call that have had my class, a lot of people besides that have had readings from me. And I want to say that it's my dharma. The Akashic Records is definitely my dharma. It's my energy in the world. And Kathy and David and Ted and I have been really talking about that a lot lately in our IGL calls. And it's, and today I was just listening to a YouTube, I think it was Greg Braden, and he was talking about the energy behind when we know what our mission is and we're able to carry that and out in the world, it will work on our anti-aging. It helps repair physical, mental, spiritual, in every way. And I know I'm speaking to the choir here because so many on this call already know what their dharma is, what their mission is, and the energy that you receive behind that, doing that in the world, taking that out to the world at large, brings you so much joy, so much satisfaction. But that's one piece of it. It's also to aid in community. It's to aid other people. It's not just for yourself. It's a selfless love of what you're giving to the world. And I really wanted to talk a little bit about that energy. And for me, it's always been the Akashic Records. I just realized today that my profession was always a substance abuse and mental health interventionist. And I don't know why, but today I just realized I was doing Akashic Record readings even before I did that work. And that was what I always thought was so powerful in the world. But I realized really without the Akashic Records, I wouldn't have done nearly what I've done. I've been doing it I've been in the Akashic realm for about 13, 14 years and a teacher for 10. Wow. And so anyhow, I just wanted to give you that. And I really thought what would be really powerful today is, Kathy, and as you have something else, but just to open it up for questions in the Akashic realm. And the questions, are really not so personal, of course, because we're on here together, but more, more for community or larger projects or whatever's going on in your world that would benefit the whole, whatever might be co-creative. Is that okay, Kathy, that we go on with that?
Sure.
Okay.
I just marked some things off my list here.
Okay.
Well, Darlis, will that be before or after you do the prayer? Or is that going to be later on?
We already did the prayer. We're in.
Oh, we're in. Oh, you said that. Hello.
Darlis, the only thing I'd like to still start the conversation is that I think that a lot of people have been, over the past year, have been really struggling to stay in 5D. This energy from 3D to 4D to 5D, you can get there, but you can't stay there. And then something whacks you back out. And I really think that what you do helps you navigate all of it. So could you speak to that a little bit?
Okay, yep, absolutely. So just being in the records really helps that, okay? So, and some of the calls I get for readings really are addressing that also. People are feeling out of sorts. Even people that really feel that they knew what they were doing in the world, but something's amiss. So I'm getting a lot of those calls lately. And so the advantage of going into your records and really doing some deeper work brings up information that they wouldn't otherwise have. And so it can bring them back to center. And that's what I've witnessed over the last year. And then for me personally, when I'm tooling around the house, I'll just have the records open. I don't necessarily need to be asking big questions, but just being in that. And really what that speaks to is being connected to the universe, okay? Because what's happening with the planet now is that we're in a section of the universe that we've never been in before. We don't even know what to expect. And we're seeing that not just with humans, but with animals and insects and the weather. Because we're in a new photo belt that we've never been in, it's throwing us off. So the Akashic records, all of your DNA is all of your past lives. So you can delve into your Akashic records and say, okay, bring the wisdom and the information that I've lived already and bring that up for my advantage, for me to call things up and utilize all that wisdom. There's no sense in going through all those past lives and not taking advantage of the information and the wisdom. And then the other place of the Akash is the etheric, all information of all time. But what I'm finding, even in this last year, it's about our connection. Just like we know here in this circle, the power of the co-creators connection, this energy goes out and it's like a string, and you're connected. And so that can bring me back to center really quickly. It can bring others back to center really quickly, knowing that that energy is going out and that you're deeply connected. And then what's so important now is the grounding, is being out in nature. And the other place that the Akashic record realm is held is in the cave of co-creation. And every time we embody, we have a geode there that lights up, and information is there about wherever we placed our feet on this planet. And sometimes that information can help us be really grounded wherever we are. And then it's collecting information of what we're doing in this lifetime too, and where we're visiting on the planet. But I think the biggest thing is to keep that universal connection.
Well, I'm finding when I open my records before I work with clients, especially when they're here, my channeling is off the charts. I mean, I thought, I don't always claim to be confident and cocky that I can channel, because I just figure I open and I hope that I can help the person in front of me, but I don't always know that I can. But somehow opening the records almost assures that I can. It's something, it's like flipping a switch and you can almost go, oh, they're here now. It's really cool.
Good, thank you. And that's how I really started using them at the highest height, was doing intervention work. And I had a reading by another professional when I went in to ask if I should become an interventionist. And they dressed up in little cheerleader outfits and started with pom-poms. Yay, she's finally here. And the reader's laughing, and I'm like, what are you laughing about? This is a really serious question. And they said during that reading that I would have something that no other interventionist had. And I didn't even think about it for the longest time, but what it was is I opened the Akashic records. I don't have permission to go in that person's records, but I know that every person is sent to me divinely, and I can ask, okay, what do I need to know so that I can help this person? And so it's just what you described. We're there to help other people, and the information just comes flowing through.
Yeah. Well, the way I open it, I don't ask I anyway, I ask we. And it's for our highest good. So
Nice.
it's just assuming that whatever's disclosed through me would only be that. So
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
And you know, there's other people here that are really incredible readers. If anybody would like else to share, that I think this is a good time to do it, of how maybe you're using it or the impact it's had on your life.
Shanti.
Shanti, I know, that's what I thought too.
Hi.
Shanti.
Oh, I wasn't on mute. Sorry. Yeah, I've been on this phase of I need to talk less right now because I'm trying to stay in that space of keeping my records open, and I'm preparing for my Reiki Master Teacher attunement on Sunday, so I'm going into this pretty deep place for that, to receive that and feel worthy of it, because I know everything. I know enough to get there. And so I love your story about the prayer that you wrote, and you trained us with that prayer. And I still use that prayer with Talia, because Talia only likes to hear that prayer. But I wrote my own prayer, and I consulted you. I'm like, I don't know, it's just happening. And you're like, well, you're supposed to be listening to your records. And so I use a different one, but I actually used yours as the prototype for it. And I took the bits and pieces that I liked and changed it up a little bit. So and then I took this class with Ted, who isn't here, and there was this lady on there that she taught us this manifesting blueprint. And I discovered about myself that, of course, I had to write another prayer, that's just part of who I am, that I'm not going to read somebody else's. And then, so now I'm like, and you gave me permission as well and said, it's okay, if that's what they told you to do. And I do, I trust them, literally. I do use a pendulum for yes and no things. Sometimes I just don't want to bother them for simple stuff like, is this thing that I found in the back of the refrigerator still edible and safe for me to eat? So the pendulum works great for that, yes or no, real quickly. But if it's beyond that, maybe a little more deeper, like, what should I be buying at the grocery store that's for my highest good and nutrition? Then I'll open the records, because, I'll get more details. So I hope that's sharing enough, because I'm feeling compelled to be complete now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanti. Thank you.
Talia, do you want to add anything, or David? You're still muted.
Okay, now we got it. Well, yes. Shanti is laughing and laughing because she knows. We've been doing, ever since we took Darlis's class together, and we did it was a wonderful class we did with Darlis, Kathy and Ted, and Shanti and I. Was there somebody else?
Roxanne.
Oh, Roxanne was in that too. And Dave. Oh, here.
He was my partner.
He was your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what was, I guess kind of anyway, some of us decided to come together as partners. And I think the instruction was to do it for, 6 weeks. or I can't remember just exactly the instructions, but Shanti and I just decided, oh, after, those 6 weeks, let's keep going with this. So we've been doing it for 2 years or more than 2 years now. And of course it did come through, and I'm really glad to hear, sometimes it just tells you time to go into a quieter phase, which, Shanti Heart is. I'm really glad to hear that. There's such a respect. This last time there was a question from, I had no idea how Reiki could do surgery. No, but she was asking this question, and then, okay, you just really have to get out of the way, sometimes more than others. And it was, it just came through. It is pretty amazing, Kathy. I agree that you can trust what's coming through. You can just trust it. I don't call it so much channeling, although I guess it is channeling the Akash. But you're just you are a channel. You are a channel, allowing it to come through you. So I'm very grateful for it, and to be able to do it for myself. One really, really interesting thing, asking for a person's permission to open their records. I can open my records. Shanti Hart can open my records if I give her permission. And, Darlis. Dave and I went to Darlis to do a joint Akashic reading.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and about our trip to Panama to see Nina and Joseph coming up real soon. But anyway, Darlis asked for both of our permission for both of us to open our records. And some things came through that hadn't come through when I had asked myself, because I hadn't asked Dave's permission to open his records. So it's very interesting that permission opens a whole new realm. So the only other thing I wanted to add was about living in the fifth dimension. What I have experienced is that there's the 3D and then there's the multi-dimension. I feel like it's all opened when we open to it. And we can get stuck in that third dimension. We live in that third dimension. That's just the way it is.
Part of us are. We don't have to all be.
Part of us is.
Right.
And we have to deal with that. But bringing in, that's my intention, that I bring in the multi-dimensions into my life. So anyway, I could talk a lot too, as you know, so I'll be complete.
Well, before, I wanted to ask David because David and I were partners during Darlis's class, and I was astonished at the stuff that came through. And David, do you have anything to say about it, to share?
Yeah, I actually haven't practiced receiving giving a reading for someone else, but I've had several readings myself, and each time it seems like it goes deeper. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of how open I am at any particular time to receive, because it's amazing what can come through when you're open.
Right. Yeah. Right. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Noel, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to say that in 2013 is when we had our first co-creators convergence, and that's the first time that I met Darlis. And I knew nothing about Akashic records. And I'm going to assume, does everyone on here is familiar with the whole concept or had a reading in the Akashic records?
Oh, Barbara hasn't. Who else?
I mean, is this new to anyone else, or is it just me? But
okay. So several people don't know exactly what it is. Darlis, do you want to share?
yeah, and Cindy said, I just learned last week. So I'm going to say, Darlis, go ahead, and then I'll come back. I want to tell a story about you about CCC 2013. It's a fun one.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
yeah, I thought we might want to need to back up just a little bit.
Okay, so Akashic Records is all information of all time is recorded. And so it's in three places. It's the information is held by light beings that have never embodied in the etheric realm. All that information is collected. It's protected in a good way. We have access through a sacred prayer to enter the information for ourselves. And when you become a reader for others, then you get permission for them, and then you can get the information for them also. So, there's been many books about Akashic Records. Actually, when I started, there was one about Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce is probably the most well-known Akashic Record reader of all times, in our lifetime especially, because he was, and he did it very different from how we are taught to do it now, but he's like Freud. He would lay on the couch and he would go into a trance. He would close his eyes and go into a trance, and the information, there's volumes of books of the information. He started recording them all, and his children have published, and his focus was on medical. And I kind of noticed that in the records, when you become a reader, there seems to be one focus for you as a reader that seems to come up to light. Like my friend Sharon is a registered nurse. Hers almost always medical. In fact, even to this day, if I have someone with a lot of medical, I'll refer them to her, because she does a medical scan, and they have trained her to be really good with medical questions. And so I trust that. With me, it's been about business for some reason. Most people come to me for readings regarding their business. And there's, been a lot of personal also, but that seems to be the main focus. Erwin Laszlo says that we are in the age of Akash. Here's a man that's 87 years old, has written many, many books, and his last several books were about the age of Akash. And that we should be using this. We could be utilizing this on a higher level. The information on your DNA is all about your past lives. And yeah, to this day, when I have to write something, I still cringe about that, and found out that there's nearly 4,000 writers, some of them very accomplished, in my DNA. So what I do is I sit down now and say, okay, I'm going in, and all you writers get up here and here's the pencil, let's get busy. So we can use it in that way. And then, of course, going to sacred sites. I've done a lot of sacred site work with my energetic dowsing, but also Shelley and I met. Shelley Darling is an incredible dowser, and she taught me dowsing, and we met at the first CC. And she said immediately, we're going to work together. And I'm like, okay. And sure enough, she taught me dowsing that summer. I taught her Akashic Records. I never do a dowsing without first opening my Akashic Records, because I just feel that energetic connection, and what the work I'm going to do is going to be much easier and much more direct, and I'm going to get to what I need to get to. So is that a good explanation of what Akashic Records are? For those, Barbara, you haven't, you're not familiar with that. So I want to make sure that people who are unfamiliar, if you have any questions.
I read Edgar Cayce probably 30 years ago, and I remember thinking, wow, this is fascinating. I've never had a session, or whatever you called it. I've never had that. So I'm familiar with it on a very surface level. Thank you.
You're welcome. Pamela, do you have any questions?
No, that was beautifully explained, and I feel like it's being downloaded to me through maybe Edgar Casey or through the Akash, because I'm very open energetically, and I've heard of it, of course, and read about it for years. But when you talk about opening to it, this is something that anybody can do.
Absolutely.
But you should take a course and be trained in it. Is that?
Okay, so two things. So you bring up great fodder. Thank you for that, Pamela. That's something I forgot to say. Okay, so many people will get to my classes and say, oh my goodness, I've been in the Akash all this time, Kathy included. So when you have open heart, a real focus like you do, you can access that information. And that's what you're doing. Okay, you just haven't labeled it that, right? You haven't been trained in it. And really, my training, I really champion people if they want to be trained with the sacred prayer and have a set way to do it. You know, Kathy was in Akashic Records long before she met me, but it's kind of, you know, I shouldn't talk for her, but it feels like it's nice for her to have this set way because she's going in to see a client. Same thing with me in an intervention. I'm going to formally open them. Can I get in them without saying the prayer? Absolutely. I've been doing this a really long time. But to this day, if there's something, you know, especially concerning another human, I'm going to formally ask permission and then get into the records. So that brings up a great point. Henry Ford was in the records. Thomas Edison was in the records. Michelangelo was in the records. And that, you know, they had that set focus, that pure heart. And look at all those people that I just mentioned. They were really championing all of society. They weren't just single-minded. They were visionaries. They were here to help the planet.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Good.
So how would you say the Akashic Records are different from like connecting with your intuition?
Yeah. Well, your intuition is more focused on you, okay? And again, the difference for me is just saying just having the focal point, okay? Now, I will say this, my intuition is higher and heightened because of the Akashic Records. And lately, Connie can attest to this, it's been on fire. If I just say somebody's name, okay, this is a for instance. Connie teaches Qigong. I'm in the Qigong class. This woman arrives and says she just moved here from Belize. And I'm like, wow, I lived in Belize for 2 years. Okay. Ends up, she came to where I worked. We met each other. We had a connection. I was only there for 2 years. We had a connection while we were there and rediscovered all of that. And one of the counselors that worked for me, I had a really hurtful situation with, and I ended up having to release her of her position, and it was a really difficult thing for me to do, and went through all those emotions. And I mentioned her name to this person, and she said, oh, yes, I remember her. She would come by where I lived. And I'm like, okay. So I have not talked to this person for 10 years. A week later, or 10 days later, or 2 weeks later, she called me after 10 years to make an amends. And it just felt like, wow, energetically, I said this person's name, haven't spoken her name in many, many years, and here she is calling me. She lives an hour north of me. So when we're in the records more, it's like it, I have a greater intuition. I have a greater sense of, I guess bigger than that, Noelle, it's I listen to it at a higher level.
Okay, great. I just want to mention that if anyone wants to put a question out there, but you can put it in the chat and I'll read it to Darlis, or Kathy will read it to Darlis. You know, if anybody else
Raise your
You know,
hand.
is a little shy, doesn't want to turn on their whatever or speak up because they're eating pizza or something, it's okay. So,
while we're waiting for that, I'd like to share that the difference between having the records and not having the records is, and I think I mentioned it before, is a confidence. You definitely know, it's like somebody pushes a crank and the doors open, and you're totally confident that you're swimming in it. Whereas you could have done prayers before and asked in your own way to open up your knowing. It's more than intuition. It is an opportunity to choose what you want to create. And that information of what you could choose for your highest good is, at least for me, is what comes through. Because you're asking for guidance in all dimensions, and you're asking for all universal and celestial information. So it can't be anything but that, for the good of all.
right.
So the portal's open, and I feel it. And then I'll feel the group in the room. I've felt them since I was 8 years old, but this is like someone goes, okay, it's time to show up, and they just show up. So I recommend that. Reading the prayer has done something different for me than in accessing higher dimension.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a comment from Cindy Ailment. She is from Danbury, Connecticut. And she said, how would I learn how to connect to my AR, Akashic Record?
Okay. Well, I actually teach on Zoom now. I use this platform. They were kind of nudging me towards this platform for a long time, and I kept saying, no. And after my last in-person class on Monday, I was resting after the weekend, and I got, did you forget about breakout sessions? And I'm like, oh, I did. And here I've been teaching the 12 agreements using breakout sessions, but I kind of forgot about that. And that was the absolute answer to be able to teach on the Zoom platform. And some of my students, Henry is one that has had the class on Zoom. So Cindy, to answer your question, sorry, I get off on a tangent. I teach, I actually teach the end of this month. I teach on this platform, the April 28th and 29th. And you can just contact me and we could talk about it. But that's the, it's fun. It was fun, wasn't it, Henry?
Yes, it was good. I didn't have to go anywhere.
and it is in the comfort of your own home, and it gets more. So we're not scattered. Like everybody was great. Everybody was on time. I would set 15-minute break. They'd be back right on time, and a lunch. When we're in person, and the rest of you have had it in person, it's like we can get chatty Cathy at lunch, and it's like then I'm trying to call in the cat, so to speak, and so it's like the Zoom platform really worked well. And that group, Henry's group, is on fire. They're practicing together. It was over 4 time zones, and we worked out the time just fine. I had from San Francisco to Grenada on that Zoom class, and they formulated their own Facebook page. I hear them practicing across the country, calling each other and practicing. So it was a great group. So Noelle, do you want to?
Yeah, Cathy, do you want to? There is another question from.
Oh, sorry.
Cathy, do you want to bring that in?
That's what I asked you if I was supposed to do it or you are.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the person that's on the iPhone says, when spirit guides and angels show up, do they identify themselves or you'd need to call on them?
Well, that's really different than the Akashic realm, okay? So the Akashic realm are not spirit guides and they're not angels. They're their own entity. So I don't quite know how to, you know, have I utilized, you know, guides and spirit guides and angels? Yes. Not nearly as much as the Akashic realm, though. It's almost like after I hit the Akashic realm, that's my go-to. Because the experiences have been so powerful. The answers come right away. I trust the answers that I'm getting. I got to tell you, and Shanti said about not asking little questions. I ask big questions. I ask little questions. One time I had a plumbing problem, and I don't ever think any question's too small. And so I was a little nervous about it, that, you know, I turned on the water faucet one day and it was trickling out. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on. I went along with my busy day. And the next day I turned it on and nothing came out. And I'm like, now we have a problem, Houston. And so I called a friend of mine that owns a lot of apartment buildings and got her suggestions. And she's like, oh, you have to call Link Finders, but first you'll have to call the homeowner's insurance because they're $3,000. And so I'm like, oh, this is bigger than I wanted to be. And I had an appointment in Miami. So I get in the car and my business partner was driving. And I said, I'm going to open the records. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to open up the records. And I get called Jupiter Water Company. I'm like, oh, I never even thought about calling Jupiter Water Company. So I said that out loud to Dan, who knew I was in the records. And he's like, you didn't call the the company? I'm like, no, I never thought about it. So I called them and they said, oh, we can't get out for an hour. And I'm like, that's fine. It was a pipe on their end. They fixed the whole thing. It didn't cost me a dime.
That's perfect.
I have a question for the records. I don't know if it's appropriate, but
Yeah, we haven't utilized it. We may as well.
it seemed like a larger question. And a couple people, Barbara Barks-Hubbard and also Neil Donald Walsh, speak about awakening the new species. So my question is opening to from the Akashic record realm, what that means, because Barbara said somebody criticized her for talking about the new species because from a scientific point of view, it has to be on a certain level that to identify the shift on the body or whatever. Okay. So my question is opening to what that might mean. Certainly, I feel, the newness just in the way that we're coming together, that we are the new species. So
they're dying to get this out. So the number one way, and eventually it's going to be scientifically proved, it's the heart. It's the opening of the heart. It's the working from the heart and not from the brain. And it's not so much a species, but the humanness, how we were operating for so long, we lost our way. It was we were operating from the brain and not from the heart. And so that is the new Homo sapiens, and that we're including all of community, all of humanity, all species, actually. It's not even just humans. It's we are now becoming the new human that is aware that we have to champion the earth, and that she is directly connected and connected in every way. And we actually affect her. When the human species come from the heart, they actually are affecting the magnetic grid that goes around the earth. When we are doing our dharma, when we're doing our work in the world, when we're coming from the heart, when we're totally focused on the greater whole, the good of the whole, then the whole grid, the magnetic grid, is affected. The neurons in each human are firing differently because of that. So that is the new species.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And just related to that, so what I'm sensing is, in this group and in other groups, we're really honing in on and becoming plugged into the unified field, into the Akashic field. And that's the whole kind of newness. I guess, part of that doorway, the chief connector is through the heart. But but we can connect with that through all the cells in our bodies as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And so this is why these simple processes are making such a great change. It's wonderful. They're clapping. They're like, you got it. You guys are doing wonderful. They're really praising us. Yeah.
Darlis, Elsie has a question.
Okay.
Elsie, you have to unmute yourself. I think unless, there we go.
Is that, can you hear me okay? Darlis, I've had recently, and I know others that I spend a great deal of time with, are struggling with the whole concept of not knowing. It seems as if my question, I think, is if this is part of the evolution. We seem to be struggling with not having answers to the questions, not knowing. If someone, for example, says to me, "How are you doing, Else?" my response is, I don't really know. Because things are changing either changing so quickly, or the answers are different from what they might have been before, or there seems to be, tonight has helped me understand that the physical struggle that happens with the body-mind of making the shift, that I think we look for old answers to that, and we don't really know, how to connect. So it's the not knowing. I'm curious to know how to talk about that, or how to address that, if there is a way, or whether I just need to embrace it, whether we need to embrace it.
Yep. Okay. So they're chomping at the bit again. Boy, they're funny tonight. They're like, okay, we got it. So things are moving so fast for a reason, to help everyone get out of their mind. This society is so focused on the mind. And so that goes along with, I have to know each and every step. I have to know even how my day is going to go, or what the outcome is, and on and on and on. And so, not that you caused it, not that the human race caused it, but that one of the reasons we were gifted this is to help us get down deep in that heart. And it's okay not to know. We don't need to know. And to really get out of that mind a little bit.
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
Yes. It's embracing that I think is the difficult. It's difficult because we're not used to doing that.
Yeah. And I find the difference, even the shift with me, is that there might have been a year or two where I would go to the records for all those questions. And now I find I don't even do that. I just like to open it and sit in the energy of it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And, I've struggled a little bit with making appointments, because I really want to live in the day. It's hard for me to make long range plans a little bit. I've really noticed I've struggled with that.
Mm-hmm. I have too, yeah.
Yeah, before I make any plans now, it's like I need to just say, hey, I try to live in the day. I'll try to make a plan with you. But, making that set plan sometimes is difficult. But I like that, because I think that I'm like integrating that, or really living in the moment. And that's what they're saying is when you're in the mind too much, and too much knowing and too much planning, and we're not living in the moment, and we lose so much by not living in the moment.
Okay. Thank you very, very
much. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to read a couple comments, and then you can take another. Cindy sent a message to Noel and Bob. I'm in Barbara's course. It's about creating Homo Universalis. Through intention, we are changing our DNA. We are moving from Homo sapiens to Homo Universalis. It's called the Wheel of Co-Creation, which all of us that know Barbara's work know that. Thank you, Cindy. And then Henry put to everyone, going to the place of not knowing is a practice. Not knowing leads to inner knowing. Thank you, Henry.
So part of that comes from Diane Collins on Barbara's program, who wrote the quantum thinking. Do you quantum think?
Right. I
So
have
once we allow ourselves to step away from where we think we know, or even I invite people who are kind of self-conscious in moving to go to the place before you have any idea of how you move, how you dance. And in that way, you're opening to the richness of possibility, or the larger picture of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Pamela, did you have a question?
Well, it was kind of a segue from Elsie's question about the not knowing. And I guess if the question, you could tap into the Akash now, for the time we're in, I'm finding very much in a void space, and a letting go of old roles, old ways of being, and in the mind, and physically sleeping so much and wanting to nap, and then the mind says, "Oh, you lazy, do something, achieve something, earn some money, like be creative." But I'm finding, especially where I'm living in Southern Ontario, we have had, weather-wise, just an extended winter. So it feels like we've been, the cycles, the seasons, the rhythms are all really off what we would normally have. And notice a lot of people in distress, depression, resisting, is it ever going to be spring? So I feel like it's drawn me even further in, and I'm feeling, instead of depressed, I feel like I'm in this deep rest that I'm honoring, and yet I'm just wondering, it feels gestational. So I guess I'm just, my mind is trying to go, Mayday, Mayday, you don't have 6 concerts and 5 workshops booked. And I actually canceled some that I had, and then I didn't get the numbers, and I let them go. And I'm in this kind of blank slate place that feels very fresh, deeply new, kind of scary, but it feels gestational. So could you speak to that?
Yeah, the absolute first thing they showed me was you in a float tank. So, Pamela, you're right on track, okay? So, and they would champion you to offer that to others, just energetically. You don't even have to say anything, but let others around you watch that this is really okay. It's really okay just to be floating right now. But this was very distinctive. I mean, have you ever been in a...
Oh, I have, and I love them. And as you say, it's so weightless, and you just end up feeling, it's the womb space. You feel like a boneless chicken, whatever that feels like. It feels good. But as you say this, what's interesting is that it's occurred to me in the past couple of days as I've meditated in this void space, because the void is the filled plenum. It's the subconscious that's rich with everything. It's the night that everything it's generative, but most people avoid it because it's like scary in the basement, right? But I've been feeling also that historically, for me, and I think for others, oftentimes for me to have that deep rest, I would have to be sick or injured. And I'm watching a lot of people around me be sick and injured. And I'm thinking, no, I am not sick or injured. I am honoring, and I am doing the deep dive, and the mind is going, what are you doing? So thank you. And I may even book myself into the flotation tank. Just go right in.
I honor you doing this for yourself and letting the heart rule and not the mind. I last year was put to rest for 5 entire months. And it can be extremely scary. I mean, I have bills to pay.
Yeah.
And it was after I get downloads sometimes, and it was after the eclipse, and I had a really powerful eclipse with my parents. And I was told in no uncertain terms, you're going to go home and you're going to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that it was going to be 5 months. And it is that whole struggle between your heart and your brain.
Yes, and there's something so deeply, as I say, gestational about it, and productive, some beautiful, amazing poems have come out of this contracted, well, I don't want to say so much of a squeeze, but the state I'm describing. And it's interesting because we also have the impulse to be outward, to share. Like, at least I feel like, oh, if I'm generating something from the lower chakras and it's cooking up in my first, second, third chakras, it's coming through my heart. I have to either share it here, put it on Facebook, give it to the world so that it's doing some good. And what's interesting is my daughter, who's so smart, said, Mom, I read that poem you put on Facebook today, and you might want to take that off. And I'm like, why, honey? She says, well, because I've been watching you writing for a while, and I think that's one of the best things I've ever seen you write. And Facebook owns the copyright. Do you want to do a book? Take it off, because you could get in trouble. Or as in,
Right.
It could be seen if somebody takes it off as already being published, that whole thing. And I realized when I took, a few people had already commented, experienced it, felt nourished by it. And there was a part of me that went, oh, but I'm not giving my thing, which I am here to do. But I drew it in and I just went, it's not about that immediacy. It's about trusting the gestation. And it goes deeper and richer. So I've been instructed by this time. Yeah. Anyway.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Shanti.
Hi, I think it's interesting that Pamela Jane called it the void, and I was recently studying a meditation that was saying focus on the space between the thoughts, and I guess you could call that a void, or you could call it a really rich, deep vortex where all the inspiration and creativity is that sometimes gets crowded out with our thoughts or our words or whatever. And then I wanted to share one other quick thing. When I first started getting into doing my records every day, and I would wait, and I was like, okay, talk to me. What's your names? Who are you? I wanted to have this big dialogue like in 3D land, and nothing. They wouldn't say anything. And then I'd go to sleep, and then you had said, well, sometimes you just open them and go to sleep. So I'd do that. I'd open them, I'd go to sleep, and I'd wake up about 5 hours later. I'd be like, wow, what just happened? And then I'd run to my journal. I'm like, I got nothing. I have no idea what happened, but something happened. So I opened the records. Finally, I'm like, okay, what's going on? How come I don't get to know what's going on? And they're like, you don't need to know right now. There's a lot going on and you don't need to know about it. And then they explained to me about that all of us that are tapping into this, that we are all light points on this grid that you were talking about. Some of us are transmitters and some of us are receivers, and sometimes you're one or the other. And so at those times when you're called to just go in deep and just hunker down, either you're being used energetically as a receptor point for transmissions, or you're receiving, but you're still part of that grid and you have a very big function. But other than that, you don't need to know. And so trusting in the not knowing, and then I just wanted to add one other thing, that like Elsie, when people ask you how you're doing and you say you don't know how to answer, you just say, I'm too busy being to really have to answer about the doing right now. So I'm complete.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that. I just have to pop in and say, I love the transmitter receiver. That's so beautiful. And Elsie, I have to say, I have a friend, my friend Tom, who is this amazing earth shaman. When you ask him how he is, he says, well, I'm half man and half amazing. And that just says it all.
That
conversation goes from there.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Barb, you're muted, dear.
Oh, sorry.
There you
Okay, I'm off now. I have been having recently like a lot of health issues, and I think it's part of whatever is going on is just telling me slow down, just stop. And right before this started happening, I was having this thing where I was so mindful of what I was doing that when I'm in doing something, I am not thinking about anything else at all, which is supposed to be good. But all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I guess I'm starting with my head then thinking, shouldn't I be thinking of something else or getting in touch with this person? Or, you know, this is supposed to be on my calendar for the future, but I got to think about this. So right now, I just am in this place where I'm trying to be comfortable here. And I'm trying to just be in my heart. And I'm struggling a little bit with my mind. And I don't know why I even said all this, but I just felt like I had to.
Okay. Well, Barb, what they're saying is to rest.
Yeah.
Rest. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Talia and David? Talia?
Hi. Yeah, I've really been getting this too, that it's time to be more quiet. And in the, I don't know, also I've heard of being in the gap, like between the two worlds, between your breaths. I don't know, somebody said something about, anyway, I guess there's different ways to put it, but it's kind of like grounded within, you know, centered within, and you don't know quite what's everything that's going on the outside, but you find that center within, and it's yeah, that's a good place to be during these times. It's just like and maybe I don't need to figure everything out there. It's not time for that. It's more time to just, okay, be quiet. There's a lot happening is what I'm feeling. There's a lot happening. And maybe it's taking you into some intense way of being closer into your higher self. That's what I'm hoping. But anyway, so I'm just feeling grateful. And who knows, maybe, yeah, for many of us, it is like, okay, I don't quite have the energy to do what I have always done before, so this is a good time. Yeah, just to be quiet.
Thank you, Talia.
So are there any other people that would like a mini reading? I mean, some of you have never had a Akashic Record experience, or anyone, Sue, do you want one? Or
well, I have a question, and I'm working a lot on my business, and someone trademarked the whole being alignment, so I've had to come up with something different. And in that process, I've been looking at all how to name everything. And the word that keeps, like, Spirit just keeps telling me, wholeness is the word, wholeness is the word. And a few days ago, what popped in was the whole, and I've been mulling this over for the past month, but a few days ago, what popped in was the wholeness initiative. And I thought, oh, that's good, I can live with that. And a few days later, I woke up and I'm like, no, that's for something bigger. I feel like, and so I am asking for any feedback on it, but it's like, I feel like wholeness is the new wellness. Like 10 years ago, people weren't looking for wellness, but now more and more, that's what we're looking for is wellness. But I don't think, like, wholeness is the entirety, the completion, the perfection. Like when you come home to yourself fully and wholly, all that great stuff happens. So
here's what they,
or is the wholeness initiative something, because what I feel like is it's a big umbrella over movement, or like other practitioners.
Okay. So
my internet is unstable.
I know, yeah. So integrative wholeness. Integrating wholeness. They were saying the word integrating. Integrative, integrating wholeness.
Okay, that's freaking me out because I heard it too. So I heard integrative and or integrated. I was hearing woo. Integrative, yeah. I'm thinking because you had asked me about this earlier in the week, but anyways, that was just confirmation.
Yep.
Do you like that word, Sue? Integrated, integrative?
I do, and I played with it. But because integrative medicine, things like that.
Right.
And I've actually been told, and I'm looking at me for my business, but also for this bigger thing.
Yes.
So is wholeness integrated for the bigger thing or the smaller thing? Probably the.
What about wholeness? I loved your wholeness is wellness.
Yeah.
I mean,
and, is there the word institute?
What I was finally getting toward. When
they were saying something about institute. Is there institute for the larger integrative wholeness institute for the larger project?
Interesting. Because I see like almost like retreats and to different practitioners that are helping normal kind of people find their way into wholeness, because it's not that big a deal, but it does take clearing out the old baggage.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My internet is really kind of going wonky.
Right.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Nothing.
It looks like Barbara has a question, but I also have a question from the chat, if that's okay. Is it okay, Barb? And then we'll come to you. Okay, I have a question for the Akash. This is from Eileen. I often hear people talking about a coming solar flash. I have some of my own ideas about what that means, which seems to be quite unpopular because they're not filled with so much drama. Could you please give us some insight about what that means, how it will manifest, and how we might experience it?
So what they're saying is that there is a lot of drama around that, and the drama is just one more way for chaos to be coming to fruition, but that's not what the solar flash is all about. The solar flash is just that there's a lot of changes in the sun, and the solar flash is also for us. As we're able to handle more light energy, then it's gonna, it's gonna give it to us as we can receive it. It's never gonna be, it's not like we're gonna burn up from it, for one thing. And they would champion all of us not to listen to the negativity that's really coming up, but to know that everything that is going on this planet right now is for our highest good. We had the 100th monkey last fall. We did it. We did what we came here to do. And now it's starting, and they're saying all these questions about resting. It's like, hey, you've only been working on this 30, 40, 50 years. Don't you all deserve a rest? They're kind of laughing at us. It's like, take a break, take a deep breath. You did it. You came what you did, you came to do what you wanted to do. And now that solar flash is just about, we're going to keep getting more light energy and more light energy as the bodies are able to handle it. Does that answer the question? You could talk to us. You could take yourself off mute.
Yeah. So there are, just to let people know if they get a chance to look at the group chat, there's some beautiful things that I'm not getting to share that Henry wrote and Elsie wrote and several people wrote. So there is, after Barbara, there's one more question, and then also Noelle and Bob want to talk about.
Eileen, let's just hear what she had to say more about that solar flare.
Okay.
Yes, that is, the answer is very much in line with what I have been saying. I've been saying we're in the middle of the solar flash. There is not going to be this big disruptive thing. And, invariably there's always people coming on and say, oh, you know, get the water, get the food, get the this, get the that. And it's like, you know, that's just creating fear. And that anything that creates fear for me is a red flag, because, you know, that is just not the way the universe works as far as I'm concerned, because that's not heart-based. And so whenever I come up and say, you know, we're in the middle of it and, you know, mellow out and, oh, but, you know, and there's certain people say, oh yeah, but all of these ancient texts say this and so, I mean, you know, from a cosmic perspective, we're in the middle of a solar flash. Mm-hmm. We're interpreting solar flash from a 3D perspective, which is just, you know. So thank you for the validation.
It's great.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Barb, do you want to unmute yourself real quick?
Thank you.
Question.
So I've been looking at Dharma lately, so I think it's interesting that that's come up so many times in this call. And one of the phrases I got recently, and I'm doing a lot of seed planting, you know, getting them up and taking care of them, giving them loving words of encouragement. And one of my hens just hatched about 9 eggs. And so I've got all these little chicks running around, and I've got an arena where I had horses. I no longer have horses. So I'm looking to plant things in it. And so I had this notion of, I give you a place to grow. Now, also in my business, that's kind of where I feel I am, although I'm changing the way I look at my business. And so I'm just wondering, you know, feedback on that. I would really appreciate, Darlis.
So the feedback that you're looking for is about the arena and allowing people to come and grow there? Is that the question?
I'm not sure what it means. I'm planning on putting plants in there and creating a secret garden or a food forest or...
Yeah, food is what they were saying. Okay, yeah. So it's definitely the perfect place for food. Okay. And there's also you have in your awareness people that might not have an area to grow food. Uh-huh. And it would be wonderful if you turned it more into a community garden, and you could really be particular and invite certain people, especially the first year, until you see how this goes. It would feel better for you to know the people and to kind of get a system going. Not that you opened it big to the public, but that you would invite a few people and kind of like, not rules, I don't like that. Okay, so masters and teachers give me some guidelines of how this would work.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's one question from Connie that says, many of us have a theme of rest, including myself. How do we know when it's time to get moving and in what direction?
Okay, so they love that. They said, listen, this is the deal. You rest as long as you're guided to, and then because you've taken that time, the creativity and what you're to do next is just, it's there. It's just waiting to bubble up. But because these humans weren't really into taking the time to do that, then they're kind of like shooting in the dark of where they should go, and it's all that mind stuff again. So if you just take your rest and really, really rest and be okay with that rest, they're saying this is a key too, is that there's a huge difference between resting and the mind overworking it and worried about it, and it gets the heart off center. But when you can really truly take the rest, they're saying like Pamela, go into the float tank and being okay with it, then you won't have to ask what your next move is or when the complete. You will know. It will just be right there for you.
Can I pop in? Because I'm feeling like we're first trimester.
Okay.
This whole gestational theme is coming up again. And as I've been tuning into myself again and again, I remembered, because, you know, all of the information of how we're up-leveling, we're upgrading, our DNA is changing, we're being, Solaris herself is inundating, we're being flooded with this diamond and platinum light. Everything is shifting. We have a new platform, we're being rewired. And I went back to when I was pregnant with my daughter, my first child, and I was like, what is the matter with me? I can't get up off the couch. And, I knew I was pregnant, but you don't have the visible signs yet. It's just really all very new. And I remember reading in What to Expect When You're Expecting, that lovely Bible that I'm sure many of us went to, was that in the first trimester, even though nobody can see outwardly, and I feel like this is a metaphor for us in these times, the immense miracle that's going on, you are expending as much energy laying on the couch as a mountain climber. So that's what came to me in the past couple of weeks, is that I think, in fact, I know, because listening to the body, I'm not lazy. I know that, and none of us are. But honoring in times when the body has asked for rest in massive change like this, and still pushing, that's when we do trip or break something, have an illness, an injury, because we're not tuning in to what is really happening. And I've had a couple of conversations with amazing light workers, way showers that have been saying, you know what's going on here. So I'm sure they have much to say about this.
No, you're right on. I mean, it's perfect. Connie, did that answer your question?
Sorry.
She's doing it again.
Yes, thank you. Trying to unmute.
I guess you're going to be quiet and go in deep now. We'll be laying at the beach, right?
Yeah, well, sometimes we rest because we want to, and other times because we have to, right?
I think Kate has her hand up.
Okay.
Yes, warm greetings to all from South Dakota. What I feel inclined to bring up is, as we were speaking about the integrated wholeness, when I went to my first CCC, we were brought into a beautiful circle by Julie and Linda. And so I took interest in these women, and I kind of watched them. And Julie Kroll, and with Shelley Darling, who's been mentioned here this evening too, they have a movement called The Good of the Whole, and are doing wonderful things with that. And so, I'm feeling this wheel of co-creation, this talk of the integrated wholeness of, let's just, connect more to that hub that's already there and beautifully running already, and just reinforce the spokes on that wheel that is the good of the whole. And I just felt inclined to add that. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Well, I know I'm kind of in I just have a laptop in my bedroom right now. I'm getting my computer set up at a laptop soon. Apologies for
We'll see you soon.
CCC this year.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
Great. And I'm just going to say one other thing here. We really need to honor the time here and cut this off, but it's been great conversation. But Cindy had one. I'm sure you'll be able to answer this quickly. Is the purpose for contacting the Akashic Records is to ask for help or ask miscellaneous questions?
Mm-hmm. It's to go deeper within yourself. I would say neither. It's really, they love going deep, if, and I always help people, like, you come to a reading with 5 questions. And sometimes if you're new to this process, I'll go over the questions with you because they don't like anything superficial. They like to go deep. And so when I was explaining about the kitchen story, this is like years and years into the records, and I can just say, hey guys, what in the world's going on with the plumbing, or I need direction. But they really love deep, juicy food. And I cannot believe it's already 10 o'clock. I had no idea.
Because you've been having fun. And Darlis, your next class, April 28th and 29th, Is that online or in person?
It's online. It's on Zoom. It's on this format.
Okay, fabulous.
So, and Darlis, will you share your website URL and your phone number so people can contact you if they want to?
Sure. Thank you.
Oh, she's doing it.
Oh, are you typing that in, Darlis, into the
I
chat?
was going to, yeah.
Or you could say it too.
Yeah, you can say it
because
too.
we do have some folks on the phone.
Okay, all right. So yeah, my website is heavensrecords.info. And my phone number is 561-339-2614.
Okay. And her website and contact information was also in the announcement. So if you saw the event announcement, also Kathy's website is also there. So we do need to bring this to a close. It's just been a lot of fun. I want to really thank Kathy and Darlis, and it felt so good to have some veteran CCC members here. And on the call, it was great sharing. But I don't know if we have invited, Nina, are you there? I can't see her. I'm going to unmute her. Nina is going to be inviting Patricia Ellsberg to our third Thursday call.
Next month.
Yeah, May 19th, I believe it is. Is that right, Nina?
Yes, I believe that is correct, Noelle. Yes. And that is actually after a couple of our introductory calls. So I would invite everyone to take a look at Opening to Divine Eros, but you'll have an opportunity to see Patricia live and via Zoom on the CCC call, and that's going to be a real delight. For those of you that know Patricia Ellsberg, you know how delicious she is. She's celebrating her 80th birthday, I think it's next week. So you'd never be able to tell. She dances and, you know, she just is a celebration of life herself and an embodiment of love. And this is the second time around she's offering this course. It'll be held in June, and it's really diving deep and flying high with her. And this follows the course that Michelle Marie and Grace, who's on the call now with us, will be conducting in April. So we're going to have like this teleseminar series that talks about how we walk in the world in courage with our love, a deeper commitment to our love in the world, which was so much the conversation on this call. And then we're going to really dive deep and fly high into some of these other places like Darlis takes us the following 8 weeks. So it's we're really looking forward to this. This is we are feeling an expansion with the work that Joseph and I are doing, and this is how it is expressing itself, and it's expressing itself through our community. So we're seeing our community members really coming out into their fuller expressions, which is a beautiful thing. And I wish you could see me, but the lighting isn't that great tonight. But I do, you know, look forward to hearing your voices on either our free calls or on the Zoom call on May 19th here. So thank you so much, Bob and Noelle. Such a great support you are. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And
third Thursday is May 17th.
May 17th, Shanti, thank you. As corrected, but always third Thursday. Just put it on your calendar. We always have just wonderful co-creations here. It's so, I just love it. It just pumps me up. Now I'm not going to be able to get to sleep, and I'm on Eastern time zone. Darn it. But it was worth it. I also do want to mention Nina is doing that through the Milagro World Center. And she is, as you all are, invited to put your events on the CCC Facebook page, because it's there for all of us. That's our trough. You know, we go there, we share, and we want to know and support each other's events. So thank you all, everyone, for coming out tonight. And I'm just going to mention the Patricia Ellsberg, for some of you who don't know, is Barbara Marx Hubbard's younger sister. And Barbara Marx Hubbard, speaking of her, will be attending our Co-Creators Convergence this year. This will be a first time since 2013. Mm-hmm. So that Co-Creators Convergence is May 30th through June 3rd at Sunrise Ranch. That's also on our Facebook page. And lots of info there about that. And one last trip I'm going to mention is Darlis and maybe some others on this Barb. We're going to Damanhur, Italy in September 15th through 25th. And it's going to be a full...
Robin Lynn.
Oh, Robin Lynn, yeah.
Robin Lynn, yeah.
Yes. We have about 11 people committed so far. We can take 20. And it's going to be not only the full moon, but the fall equinox, which is quite a celebration at Damanhur. We will sleep underground in the mountain in the Temple of Humankind. And then also there's going to be an optional 2-day course after the 10 days if someone wants to take that. So we have that information also on our website. But you can reach out to any of us to get information about those events. So we'll point you in the right direction. So with that, I just want to thank Darlis and Kathy once again, and everyone for...
Thank you, Darlis. Thanks for everybody's participation this evening.
Yes.
Really a wonderful circle. Wonderful circle.
So this is the hard part where I have to say, stop recording and end meeting.